Imagine the sky itself as a battlefield, thunderheads like the shields of giant armies, and the earth trembling under the march of immortal feet. This is not a tale of mortal quarrels, but the story of a cosmic war, an epical clash between two generations of divine beings. For 10 years, the universe hung in the balance as Titans and Olympians fought for dominion. This is the Titanomachy, the war that reshaped heaven and earth. It begins with a crime that made vengeance unavoidable. Cronus, leader of the Titans, had swallowed each of his newborn children to prevent a prophecy that one of his offspring would overthrow him. This grotesque attempt to devour fate itself left the cosmos unnaturally ordered, a forced calm maintained through fear and cannibalistic rule. But destiny is a stubborn thing. Rhea, Cronus's wife, saved their youngest child by a cunning deception. She wrapped a stone in swaddling and handed it to Cronus. Zeus grew in secret, raised beyond the sight of his devouring father, nurtured by mountain nymphs and the whispers of rebellion. When Zeus came of age, he did not simply confront his father, he orchestrated a liberation. Through trickery and a potion of bitter root, Zeus compelled Cronus to disgorge his swallowed siblings, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Whole and furious, reborn as allies against the old regime. What followed was a declaration. The reign of the Titans would end. So the war began. It was not a single field of battle, but a war that stretched across earth, sea, and sky. The Titans, colossal and primordial, wielded the brute forces of creation, earthquakes that rent continents, storms that hurled boulders like morning hail. Opposite them stood the younger gods, nimble and cunning, led by Zeus with lightning coiled at his fist, Poseidon with his trident, and Hades with the shadowy depths at his command. For a decade, they clashed in thunder and flame. Yet even gods needed allies. Trapped in Tartarus, a chasm of deepest gloom, were three monstrous beings: the Hekatonkheires, hundred-handed giants, and the Cyclopes. Zeus struck a fateful bargain: freedom in exchange for allegiance. The Cyclopes forged thunderbolts, and the Hekatonkheires, each arm a mountain, hurled a barrage of boulders and captured titans with impossible strength. Released from stone and silence, they became the tide that turned the war. Imagine the battlefield, a raw, primeval landscape where pillars of fire punched holes through the heavens, rivers boiled, and mountains were cleft as if struck by some cosmic axe. The hundred-handed ones hurled mountains like seeds. The Cyclopes hammered the thunderbolts that Zeus cast with the precision of a smith turned general. Titans like Atlas and Hyperion fought with the gravity of the ancient world behind them, but the Olympians struck with newness, strategy, craft, and the concentrated fury of youth. There was a moment when the conflict threatened to unmake the very framework of reality. Mounts shattered like pottery underfoot, stars were hurled from their courses, and the sea itself rose in answer to Poseidon's command, waves taller than towers, swallowing entire legions. Yet myth records this apocalyptic fury not as chaos without purpose, but as a necessary purge, a violent reordering that birthed a cosmos more akin to the world we know. At last, after 10 brutal years, the Titans were vanquished. Cronus and his kin were cast down into deep Tartarus, bound by the Hekatonkheires, whose hands had become the bonds of a new order. The Olympians, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia, claimed rulership, dividing sky, sea, and underworld among themselves. The age of Titans had ended. The age of gods began. The Titanomachy is more than mythic spectacle. It is a story about succession and transformation, how a violent overthrow can signal the birth of a new order, how old laws must sometimes be broken for a different world to arise. When Zeus struck his final bolt and the dust settled, mountains still bore the scars, and the earth moved a little closer to the human scale. From that ruin of giants came a cosmos where gods walk among men, where thunder carries memory of chained, hundred-handed giants in Tartarus, and where every rumble of the heavens whispers of a war that once shook the universe to its foundations.